I paid for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary at a luxury hotel in Manhattan. I wired the deposit, paid for the band, the flowers, the open bar, even a custom cake. I bought them a Swiss watch set that cost more than some people's cars. In return, my mother pointed at me and told security, "Get this beggar out of here!" So I showed them what their beggar was really worth. I walked into the lobby of the plaza in a $4,000 dress and felt like I'd accidentally stolen someone else's life. The dress? A pale, sleek thing from a designer who usually dresses women who brunch on the Upper East Side, fit perfectly. My hair, fresh from a salon in Soho, still held that expensive wave. Only the mascara betrayed me, carving black rivers down cheeks I'd tried to contour into effortlessly happy. In my hands, I was still clutching a velvet box, a pair of Swiss watches worth about $6,000, a small gift for 50 years of marriage. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry." The security guy took me lightly by the elbow. That polished, trained gentleness expensive places require. "Your name was removed from the guest list last night. I'm afraid I can't let you in." Removed. He said it like we were talking about a typo, not a daughter. "Removed by whom?" "Your parents asked us to update the list," the manager added, eyes soft with professional pity. "Again, we're very sorry. Please." Behind the glass doors, I could see everything. My mom, in a gold dress, hugging my younger brother Mike. My dad, lifting a champagne flute. My younger sister Erica, laughing loudly, holding court with her friends. A family celebration. My family. Just without me. I took a breath that felt like it hit concrete halfway down. "Let me talk to my mother," I said. They hesitated, but someone opened the door to the ballroom a crack. My mom didn't even step into the hall. She spoke from inside, like I was a delivery she hadn't ordered. "We thought you wouldn't come, Megan," she said, sounding inconvenienced. "This is a family event. It's really just for close family." Family. Without me. I held out the velvet box. "For you and Dad," I managed. She didn't take it. Instead, she turned to the nearest waiter. "Please take this away. Get it out of here." Then she waved toward me with that same dismissive flick she used on telemarketers. "Actually, get her out. Get this beggar out of here." The word hit harder than the cold wind waiting outside. Beggar. After I had wired over $7,000 for the banquet deposit. After 10 years of paying their bills, covering Mike's business ideas, funding Erica's girls' trips and emergency credit cards. I was the beggar. The doors closed. The elevator down to the lobby crawled, giving me way too much time to stare at myself in mirrored walls. Woman in a designer dress, mascara smeared, fingers shaking around a box no one wanted. On a monitor in the corner, they were streaming the live feed from the ballroom for the staff. I watched my mother hugging Mike, Dad giving some heartfelt toast, Erica laughing with a glass in her hand. Family celebration. Without me. Couples glided past me in the lobby, giving me those quick, curious looks people give car accidents they're not sure they're allowed to stare at. The doorman held the door open. February wind off the Hudson slapped me in the face, sharp and wet. "To downtown?" I croaked to the cab driver as I slid into the back seat. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror, at the ruined makeup, the expensive dress, and didn't ask a single question. He'd seen this before. Women in good shoes leaving someone else's happiness. New York blurred past in streaks of light. I hugged the watch box like it was the last thing anchoring me to reality. I was 34, a successful investment analyst, owner of my own consulting agency. Clients from the Upper East Side and the Hamptons trusted me with millions, and to my own parents, I was a beggar. In my head, their words looped like a scratched record. "I'm not your daughter. You're always on your own, Megan. We have our own." Our own, in their dictionary, never included me. By the time the cab pulled into the underground garage of my building, a glass and steel tower in downtown Manhattan, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely swipe my card to pay the driver. No one from my family had ever been here. "Why would we go into those anthills?" my mother always scoffed whenever I invited them. "We like real homes, not boxes in the sky." My box in the sky was a 2-bedroom condo on the 32nd floor with floor-to-ceiling windows and a designer kitchen. I'd paid for all of it myself. In the dark, empty garage, everything I'd swallowed for 34 years ripped its way out. The scream came from somewhere low and animal and ugly. It tore my throat raw and bounced off concrete. Years of swallowed comments and, "We didn't mean it like that," and, "You know your brother needs more help than you do." My phone vibrated. "Hey!" Stacy's voice beamed from the speaker. "How's the golden couple? Are you dancing already? Send me a pic of that dress. I want to hate you properly." I swallowed metal. "They threw me out," I said. The words scraped. "I'm not their daughter." Silence. No crackle. No joke. "Where are you?" "Garage. In my car." "Stay there. Don't drive." "I'm coming." 20 minutes later, she was banging on the window of my car. She didn't say anything, just opened the door and wrapped her arms around me like she was physically holding me together. Upstairs, in my overly tidy living room, I collapsed on the couch and poured it all out. The ballroom, the guest list, the manager, the word beggar, my mom talking to me through a crack in the door like I was the wrong delivery. Stacy reheated takeout pilaf, poured red wine, unzipped the back of my dress. $4,000 sliding to the floor in a puddle of fabric. "This isn't just toxic," she said finally. "This is psychological abuse. You know that, right? You're not being dramatic. You're a victim." Victim. I'd never used that word about myself. I was the strong one, the responsible one, the one who could handle it. "I'm not a victim," I muttered. "I run portfolios. I fix things." "Yeah," she nodded. "You fix everyone's mess but your own." Something clicked in my brain. "I have a spreadsheet," I blurted. "An actual one. I've always tracked the money, just in case." I dragged my laptop across the coffee table, still in my slip, and opened a file named, very creatively, family_expenses.xlsx. It opened instantly. Rows and rows and rows. Dates, transfers, purchases, payments. 10 years of just this once, and we'll pay you back. And you understand, you're good with money. At the bottom, in the total cell, a number glowed. 15,347,000. As a raw number, it had always felt abstract. When I translated it into real money in my head, it landed around $200,000. $200,000. My chest tightened. That was a decent condo in New York. That was a comfortable retirement. That was a business from scratch. A boat. A year of travel around the world. That was an entire life I had handed to people who had just called me a beggar. I scrolled through the rows. Erica's tutors for her kids, month after month, about $1,600 each time. New bedroom furniture for my parents, $5,000. Mike's barber shop, roughly $36,000. My parents' spa retreat in Palm Springs, about $11,000. Full renovation of my parents' apartment, over $40,000. Every line was a slice of my time. Every figure was a trip I didn't take, a dream I postponed for later. I fed them, dressed them, entertained them, patched their holes, rescued their bad decisions. In return, I got, "Get this beggar out of here." My family had been slowly eating my life through endless small requests, and I'd let them because I thought that was what love looked like. Spoiler, it's not. Love, I realized, was Erica's crooked kindergarten drawing of a house with a sun that hung over my parents' couch for 30 years. Love was Mike setting the garage on fire at 14, and everyone laughing, "Boys will be boys." Love was having a permanent seat at the table, no questions asked. For me, love was, "You're strong. You'll manage." I was the ATM, always stocked, always available. About $200,000 over 10 years. Not a cent of actual affection. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember Stacy's voice, the glow of the laptop, and that number at the bottom of the spreadsheet, burning holes in my retinas. 15,347,000. 200,000. Price of admission to a family that still saw me as an outsider. To understand how I got there. $200,000 deep into funding people who could throw me out of a party I paid for. You have to back up. Way back. I don't remember the first time I realized I was the extra child. Probably around the time I started bringing home certificates. At 9, I won first place in a district math competition. I came home with a printed certificate and the kind of grin you only get when numbers finally obey you. My dad glanced up from the TV just long enough to say, "Sit with Mike. He needs to memorize his multiplication table." He didn't even read what the award was for. Mike's crooked crayon house with a sun, though? That drawing hung above the couch for years. When I graduated from NYU's business school with honors, in the cap and gown and all that, there's a photo of me on the stage, smiling into a crowd that isn't mine. My parents didn't come. "Mike has finals," Mom said. "He's stressed." Translation: his exam anxiety outranked my entire degree. At 14, Mike burned down half the garage trying to fix something with gasoline and a lighter. Mom giggled. "Well, boys are like that, full of ideas." At 15, I was tutoring other kids in algebra so I could buy myself winter boots that didn't leak. Middle child. Invisible child. The one who would figure it out. And I did. I worked 14-hour days in a venture fund. Startups, pitch decks, endless meetings. At 30, I launched my own consulting agency. Clients trusted me with their portfolios, their retirement, their kids' college funds. By 32, I had the downtown condo, the savings, the successful woman LinkedIn profile. That's when the calls started. "Can you help with the utilities? They messed up Dad's pension again." "We're short this month, Megan, just until the check comes. You know how Social Security is." "Megan, I've got this idea. Self-service car wash. You understand business. You get it." Mike's car wash lasted exactly 3 months. Then came the barber shop. Then an online marketplace importing cheap junk from China. "You're doing great, Meg," Mom would sigh into the phone. "You've got that fancy job and your nice apartment. Your brother is trying. Send something. You know how it is." Erica's style was different. "Hey, sis. The girls and I are flying to Mexico. It's this amazing all-inclusive. We're just short a little. You're good with money. Can you help?" She didn't even bother with please. I helped. Always. Because family. Because they have no one but you. Because you'll understand when you're older. Then there were the vacations I wasn't invited to. On Memorial Day, the whole extended family went to a beach house in Florida. I found out from Erica's Instagram story, sunburned noses, cheap wine, everyone laughing on a deck. "Oh, Megan," she said when I called once. "You're always working. We didn't want to bother you." Right. The first time my mom's voice softened toward me in years was about 6 months before the golden anniversary. "Sweetheart," she cooed on the phone, "your dad and I have our 50th coming up. We've always dreamed of celebrating in a beautiful hotel in Manhattan, somewhere like the Plaza. You know we could never afford that." She let the sentence hang. "You're the only one who could make this happen for us." I took the bait. Of course I did. I transferred a deposit of about $7,000. The planner emailed me, all flowers and menus and special anniversary packages. I should have been suspicious when they started ghosting me in the group chat, though. At first, they answered my questions. Then, emojis, thumbs up, hearts. No real answers. When I asked about seating, there was a long pause. Then Erica finally texted, "Wait, you're coming too?" I laughed it off. "Of course," I typed. "I am your daughter." The day of the party, I booked the stylist, the makeup artist, picked up the watch set. I walked into that lobby believing, stupidly, that money could buy me at least a chair at the table. We both know how that turned out. Back in my condo, sometime between sobbing into Stacy's sweater and staring at the spreadsheet, another thought threaded through the wreckage. They didn't just throw me out of a party. They threw me out of a life I'd been paying for on autopilot. The next morning, my phone woke me up before the sun did, buzzing itself half to death on the nightstand. Stacy was snoring on the couch under a blanket. I slipped out of bed like I was sneaking past a sleeping dragon and padded into the kitchen. I made coffee and finally looked at my screen. The Chase app helpfully displayed my recent transactions from the card my whole family had access to. I'd opened that shared account years ago, just in case of emergencies. I'd forgotten it even existed. The card lived in my wallet, but everyone else had the number saved. Overnight charges glowed on the screen. Extra charges for the banquet, about $4,000. Skyline Lounge, a trendy rooftop bar where the after party had clearly migrated, roughly $2,000. A custom cake from a famous New York bakery, around $700. They were still celebrating on my dime after they'd had me escorted out. The app didn't show a charge for humiliation, but I mentally added that to the total. In my head, my mom's voice replayed crisp and cold. "Get this beggar out of here." The coffee machine finished hissing. I poured a mug, sat down at the table, and opened Instagram. The first post in my feed stopped me cold. There it was, the cake. 3 tiers, gold accents, fondant roses. My mother, smiling beside my dad, his arm around her shoulders. Caption: 50 years of love. So grateful for my beautiful family. Not one word about who paid for that grateful family tableau. I scrolled. Photos from the Mediterranean cruise I'd gifted them the previous new. Stacy poured herself coffee, sat across from me, and met my eyes. "So what now, sponsor?" Now. That word felt different. I closed Instagram. "Now," I said. I stopped being their ATM. For the first time in years, my chest felt light. Not good exactly. It still hurt. But the perpetual weight, the sense that I always owed someone something, was gone. I opened my email and typed, "Ella, good morning. I need a full breakdown of all family-related expenses from the last year and the contact info for our attorney." Ella, my assistant, replied in 10 minutes. She always does. "On it. Are you okay?" "Better than I've been in a long time," I wrote back. By lunchtime, she'd sent a fresh spreadsheet. I looked at the numbers like they were X-rays. Half of the banquet was already paid, about $7,000. The cruise for my parents, roughly $3,000 with departure in a month. A family vacation package for Erica, her husband, and their kids, about $4,000 flying out in 2 weeks. Another $2,000 wired to a landlord as a temporary loan for Mike's new barbershop location. A $7,000 renewal for my parents' country club membership in New Jersey. In total, roughly $36,000 already committed to their future fun, all from my money. By the afternoon, I was on the phone with our attorney. He listened, professional and unflappable, as I laid everything out. 10 years of transfers, no written agreements. "We'll pay you back, you know us." All the usual lines. "So, legally," he said, Anything without a written loan agreement, promissory note, or at least some message specifying repayment will be considered a gift. You can't reclaim what's already spent. I figured, I said. What about the stuff that isn't fully paid for yet? That you can cancel, he replied. Future charges, bookings made in your name, those you're absolutely allowed to stop. As for the so-called loans to your brother without any paperwork, in the eyes of the law, those are gifts. 10 years of gifts to people who just called me a beggar. Cute. Thank you, I said. I'll take it from here. Ella called as soon as I hung up. They're going to lose it, Megan, she warned, nerves in her voice. It's going to be a storm. Let them, I said. I'm done living in this insanity. The next 2 hours, I treated my family like a failing portfolio. I built a detailed register by person, year, and type of expense, like internal bank loans. I even calculated opportunity cost, what those amounts would be worth now if I'd invested them instead. By the end, the totals looked like this. Around $200,000 directly spent. Roughly $45,000 in lost investment gains. $250,000. Price of my family. You could have bought a beach house in Florida, Ella murmured when she saw the numbers. Or started a charity. I still can, I said. But first, I have to stop bleeding. I drafted the cancellation emails the same day. The cruise agency. Hi, this is Megan Campbell. I'm canceling the booking under my parents' names. I understand there's a cancellation fee. Please process the refund to my account. Yes, there was a penalty, a few $100s gone. Fine. 95% came back to me. The resort company for Erica's family trip. Cancel the package completely. Actually, keep the penalty out of the total. I'll send my nephews some pocket money directly. They're not to blame. Mike's business loan. Hello, I'm blocking the scheduled transfer to this commercial landlord. This is my final decision. The country club. Please do not renew my parents' membership. Any future billing must go directly to them, not to my card. Then the plaza. Good afternoon. This is Megan Campbell. I paid the deposit for Saturday's event. Of course, Ms. Campbell. We remember you. How can we assist? I'm not asking for the deposit back, I said, but I want to cancel all the additional orders, roughly $4,000 worth. Bill my parents for anything extra, and please transfer my deposit to Harbor Light Children's Hospice, anonymously. A pause. Then, we'll handle it exactly as you requested. By evening, everything was done. Cruise, canceled. Family resort trip, canceled. Country club membership, gone. Mike's transfer, blocked. Banquet extras, removed. Money redirected to sick kids instead of people who called me a beggar. My phone had 34 missed calls. I turned on an autoresponder. As of today, I am no longer financing family members. All financial obligations are terminated. The shared account has been closed. Then I blocked their numbers. For a week, the silence was oxygen. One night, Stacy came over with a bottle of wine. We sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows looking out over Manhattan's skyline. How are you? She asked. Free, I said. And yeah, it hurts, but I was never their daughter. I was their bank. She raised her glass. Then here's to your Independence Day. The phone started screaming again that night. I muted everything, but the screen kept lighting up, buzzing its outrage onto the nightstand. In the morning, I scrolled through the messages. Mike. You killed my business, you bee! Erica. The kids are crying. They were dreaming about the ocean. How could you do this to them? My father. You're a traitor. After everything we've done for you. I had to laugh at that one. After everything they had done for me? At 7 a.m., someone leaned on the buzzer like the building was on fire. On the video screen by my door, my whole family stood huddled together. My mother, father, Erica with her kids, and Mike. In a building with 24/7 security, this kind of crowd was unusual. The concierge had already called up, confused. I told him to let them come up. They didn't wait for an invitation when I opened the door. They barreled in and arranged themselves in the hallway like an angry semicircle. A furious little committee. "You've lost your mind," Erica started. "You've ruined my kid's vacation. We're a laughingstock now." Mom flung her hands in the air. "I had to call everyone and explain that my daughter had some breakdown. I invested in that space." Mike jabbed a finger at me. "Signed contracts. You're destroying my business." My dad just stared for a long moment, then barked, "You will fix this. Right now. We raised you, remember?" I looked at them. At my mother in the mink coat I'd bought her. My father in the expensive glasses I'd given him for his last birthday. Erica's children in the high-end clothes I'd paid for as little surprises. "No," I said. One word. The hallway went still. Then they exploded. "Hysterical! We'll take you to court. We fed you, clothed you, gave you everything. You owe us for life," Dad shouted over all of them. "If you don't change your mind right now, you are no longer our daughter." I almost laughed. "And exactly when was I ever your daughter?" I asked quietly. I turned, walked into the living room, and opened my laptop. They followed, still shouting. I spun the screen around. "This," I said, tapping the spreadsheet, "is 10 years of my life. Totals, broken down by year and name. Here, about $200,000 spent on you in the last decade. And here, roughly $36,000 I canceled yesterday. Dates, amounts, recipients, purposes. These aren't emotions. These are facts." "You're ripping everything out of context," my mother squealed. "We never meant to hurt you." "It was stress," Dad added. "Every family goes through tough times." "Mom," I interrupted, "did you forget what you said when I came to your anniversary?" She fell silent. I didn't. "You looked at me," I said, "and you told them, 'Get this beggar out of here.'" The room froze. Erica and Mike stared at the floor. My mom's hands were trembling. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes. Once upon a time, those tears would have sent me running to the bank to transfer money, fix something, carry something, bail someone out. Now I just felt tired. "From this day," I said, my voice flat, "there will be no more transfers, no more loans, no more surprise gifts. Erica, Mike, you're both capable adults. You can work and support your own families." My father hissed like a cornered cat. "You'll regret this." "No," I replied. "For the first time in my life, I have self-respect. That's worth more than your 'you'll regret it.'" My mother clutched her chest, going for drama. "You're abandoning your family, acting like you're better than us." I tilted my head. "When you had security escort me out of your party, what did people think I was? A server who walked into the wrong ballroom? Because you sure didn't introduce me as your daughter." They shuffled out eventually, single file, not looking at me. The door slammed. I stayed by the window, staring at the gray little courtyard between the neighboring buildings. Inside, there was no familiar crack where my energy constantly leaked out. For the first time in years, I felt intact. I waited for the tidal wave, the sobbing, the panic, the guilt. Instead, a different feeling rolled in, like someone had finally taken off a heavy, wet coat I'd been wearing since childhood. Space, air, the ability to breathe. My phone pinged. A text from Liz, my cousin, someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. "I know everything. I'm sorry I stayed quiet so long. I'm proud of you. You're strong." It was the first message in years that didn't smell like a demand or a guilt trip. The backlash took about 8 months to fully hit. First wave, flying monkeys. That's what my therapist, Dr. Karen Lewis, a soft-spoken woman in her 60s with steel-strong boundaries, called relatives who suddenly remember you exist when you stop paying. Every Wednesday, I sat in her office and untangled the same themes. "You're not an ATM, Megan," she would remind me. "You're a person. You're allowed to exist without constantly overserving others." We practiced not answering manipulation immediately. "Before you respond to anyone," she said, "ask yourself, what am I feeling? What do I want? Then decide if you respond at all." The calls and messages kept coming. "Aunt Valerie, your mom's worried sick. Her blood pressure is through the roof. Do you really want to do this to her?" A family friend. "Maybe you overreacted a little? You know your parents love you." Even an old professor from NYU somehow dragged into the drama. "You can't treat your parents this way, Megan. Family is sacred." My answer was always the same. Polite, clear. "If you were silent when they humiliated me, please don't expect explanations from me now. I'm not available to help. I wish you well." No justifications, no essays, no back and forth. Second wave, reality. Without my money, things in my parents' world started to crack. They sold their house upstate. There was no one to pay for maintenance anymore, my cousin Liz later told me. They moved into a small one-bedroom apartment in Queens. Mike shut down his latest LLC. Debt collectors started calling. For the first time in her life, Erica took out a loan in her name for a new kitchen. My photos quietly disappeared from family albums. In the big family group chat, it was as if I'd never existed. To neighbors on the landing, my mom reportedly said, "We have 2 children now," meaning Mike and Erica. The family I'd been chasing my whole life had always been made up. I realize now their love was a contract. I told Dr. Karen once. As long as I paid, I belonged. "And what do you feel now?" she asked. I thought about it. "Relief," I said finally, "and grief for a family that never actually existed." 6 months after the showdown in my living room, my phone buzzed with a very neutral message from Dad. "Maybe we could meet for coffee?" I brought it to therapy like a school kid handing over a permission slip. "What do I do?" I asked. "What do you want?" Dr. Karen countered. "Honestly, I want to see if anything has changed," I admitted. "Without lying to myself." "Then meet," she said. "But on your terms, public place, 30 minutes, no money talk, and you leave if they cross those lines." We met at a small cafe in Greenwich Village. They looked older, smaller, like someone had turned down the saturation on them. We talked about the weather, their health, my work. Surface, surface, surface. "We miss you," Mom said at last, voice trembling. "Do you miss me?" I asked. "Or do you miss my money?" She looked down and picked at the edge of her napkin. Dad cleared his throat. "Just think about what it means to be a family," he said. "I do," I replied. "Every day." We finished our coffee. No one brought up bills, loans, or just this one thing. We said goodbye on the sidewalk like colleagues parting after a meeting. The power they'd had over me dissolved like morning fog. What was left was just me, whole, real, and a New Year's Eve party that felt like mine. Not a $1 million ballroom, a simple walk-up apartment in Brooklyn at my friend Gina's place. IKEA string lights taped along the walls, the smell of clementines and cheap sparkling wine. Laughter that didn't have an agenda. I'd also stopped being bled dry. Turns out, when you're not bankrolling multiple households, your business has room to grow. Without the constant financial hemorrhage, I opened a second office in Chicago, hired two brilliant young analysts, Katie and Tony, gave an interview to Bloomberg about how to stop losing money on toxic family ties. The article blew up. My bank account stopped looking like a public utility. My energy did too. Online, I found a private Facebook group for people who'd cut financial cords with abusive families. There was Gina, who'd been paying her parents' mortgage while renting a room for herself. Sam, whose older brother kept investing his money into the latest get-rich-quick scheme. Cassie, supporting a mother who spent everything on psychics. We met for dinner once a month. No judgment. No advice unless asked. Just people sharing stories over pasta. For my 35th birthday, I did something radical. I celebrated on my terms. No politely forced relatives. No, you pay, we show up. Just my people. Stacy was there, of course. Gina brought cookies. Sam showed up with the first printed copy of his short story collection. Self-published, but he already had interest from a small press. Cassie came with her 3-month-old son Tim, named after her grandfather. They loved me for exactly nothing I could buy them. Later that evening, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was Liz and my Aunt Margaret, my dad's younger sister. The one who had walked out of the golden anniversary right after I'd been kicked out. No scene, no words, just grabbed her coat and left. Aunt Margaret handed me an old envelope. "This is from Grandma Eleanor," she said. "I wanted to give it to you earlier, but your mother always said, she's not ready yet. I think you are now." Inside was a letter on yellowed paper and a statement from an investment account. "Megan, my dear granddaughter," it read. "You were always my favorite, though I never said it out loud. I knew you wouldn't break. The others needed my daily support. You only needed to know that I believed in you. This money is yours and only yours. Use it when you finally stand up for yourself." Grandma had been gone 7 years. In that time, about $200,000 had quietly grown in that account. While I was learning to choose myself, that money had been waiting for me. By then, the place upstate was already gone. They'd sold it when there was no one left to pay for the upkeep. They squeezed deeper into that one bedroom in Queens. Mike shut down yet another business, blaming everyone but himself. Erica's perfect kitchen came with payments and interest. Her first taste of a reality I'd been shielding her from for years. My mother started telling neighbors on the stairwell, "We have 2 children," meaning the ones who still played by her script. I started something else. Part of Grandma's money went into establishing the Eleanor Campbell Foundation. Small scholarships and emergency grants for young women who'd been financially and emotionally abused by their own families. The rest stayed put, quietly earning. I knew someday I'd know exactly what to do with it. One winter evening, I stood by my own window, watching snow swirl in the streetlights. The city glowed with holiday lights. Behind me, my apartment was loud. People were arguing about movies. Someone was trying to teach baby Tim how to clap. It smelled like potato salad and cheap champagne. An ordinary New Year's Eve, in an ordinary apartment with very ordinary people. I looked at the chaos and felt my face relax into a smile. So this is what family looks like, I thought. Not the one you're shoved into by blood and obligation. The one you choose yourself. The one that doesn't charge admission or send you an invoice for existing. And this time, I wasn't the beggar. I was the one who finally shut the ATM down and walked away with my life. So tell me, did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.